All praise to God, for he is worthy to be praised. Welcome back to Mo Conscious. In today's video, we got a story coming out of Detroit where an officer shot a black woman 6 times over a simple traffic violation. It was said that she was speeding, she had obscured license plate, and that her windows were tinted. However, how does that result in an officer shooting this black woman 6 times? In these videos that I'm about to show you, you'll see 2 different accounts of what happened, and they totally contradict each other. So that means what? The officer lied, right? We know that's how they do. However, I would give the police chief, Todd Bedison, I'll give him credit for doing the right thing after witnessing the body cam, which he should have done from the beginning. But at least he's done the right thing this time. That's why I think that representation is so important in certain positions, because this is a black police chief and he's finally doing the right thing. So I would give him credit for that. We know that just because you're black in these positions doesn't always necessarily mean they're going to do the right thing, because most of them, they just go along with the program anyway. So in these videos that I'm about to show you, you're going to see the contradiction in both of these accounts. So with that being said, y'all watch this.
Starts now with a breaking news alert.
That breaking news is coming out of Detroit, where a woman has been shot during an altercation with police.
Police say this all started as a traffic stop and escalated from there.
Our Noel Friel is live on the scene. Noel, I know you just heard from police. What are they saying?
Yeah, Will, Pam, we're told that the driver involved was shot multiple times but is in stable condition. Again, this all started with a traffic stop, and police say it turned into a chase that coincidentally ended here at a Detroit police facility that we're told houses specialized units. Police say it started when an officer pulled over an SUV with an invalid license plate. We're told the woman driving that SUV refused to give her license or registration or get out of the car. She called 911 and asked to speak to another officer. Other officers came in for backup and got the woman out of her car, but we're told she still refused to comply and pepper spray was used. Police say she got back into the SUV and drove off with an officer hanging onto her car. At Concord and Outer Drive, police were able to box her in. That's when we're told she started to drive toward officers and police fired multiple shots. She drove off again and ended up in the parking lot of this facility on Sherwood Street. Police Chief Todd Bedison warned drivers that in these situations, you must comply with police, and the worst thing you can do is flee.
Oftentimes we have people that don't think that they have to show their driver's license, their registrations. That's required if you're going to operate on a Michigan road, and it's also required that you don't flee and elude. That is a felony. So when you do that and make that choice, you just went from a civil infraction to a felony.
And we're told that woman was struck in both of her arms and her leg, but again, she is in stable condition. Police do plan to release body camera footage of this incident. Live in Detroit, Noel Friel, Local 4.
All right, Noel, thank you.
As you can see, the black lady asked for a supervisor, which they never provided. That is also in violation of their policies. She got pepper sprayed by these officers. They pepper sprayed her, and she had to flee in order to get to safety. She even called 911 at some point in there. But this just goes to show you how corrupt these officers truly are. But in this next video, you're going to see that the police chief, he changes his tone once he actually reviews the body cam footage. I will give him credit for actually doing the right thing. But y'all watch this video and y'all see this a whole different account of what happened.
Good afternoon. My name is Jasmine Barmore. I am the Director of Media Relations for the Detroit Police Department. We called you all down today to give you an update on an officer-involved shooting that occurred yesterday, October 26th. Today you will hear from our Chief of Police about what transpired during this incident, and after we will open it up for Q&A. Chief.
Good afternoon, members of the media. Thank you for coming on short notice. Today, I have called you all here to discuss the officer-involved shooting that happened on yesterday's date, which was Sunday, afternoon in the 11th precinct area. Normally, I would not do a media briefing on an OIS, officer-involved shooting, during this short of a time frame. But this morning at my senior management meeting, I was able to review the body-worn camera, and at my briefing yesterday at the scene, I updated you and stated that the information was fluid, preliminary, and that I had not reviewed the camera footage at that moment. I was able to review the body-worn camera footage from the shooting officer and wanted to ensure that, as promised, I would give you all an update. I will not be releasing the body-worn camera footage today because I do not want to jump in front of the Wayne County prosecutor, which is standard in an officer-involved shooting. We will be submitting a warrant request, as we always do in all of our officer-involved shootings, and the investigation will be led by the Michigan State Police Department. But I do want to update you and walk you through what transpired to give you an update. After reviewing the body-worn footage, I can tell you that yesterday afternoon, our officer was out on routine patrol in the area of Van Dyke and 8 Mile. He observed what he deemed to be a traffic violation and conducted a traffic stop. The driver of the vehicle, which was driving a black Dodge Durango, complied with the officer and pulled over her vehicle immediately. At this point, the officer exited the patrol vehicle and approached the driver's side of the Dodge Durango. The officer identified himself and gave the reason for the traffic stop. The driver strongly disagreed with the officer as to the reason. The officer asked the driver for her license, registration, proof of insurance of the vehicle. The driver requested for the officer's supervisor numerous times, including at one point the driver called 911 while the officer was standing at the vehicle. The officer requested backup to the scene for support. Once backup arrived, the officer physically opened the driver's door in an attempt to get the driver out of the vehicle. The officers were unsuccessful in their attempt to pull the woman out of the vehicle, and she was pepper sprayed by one of the backup officers. She then closed her door and the driver drove off from the scene. The officers pursued the Durango up Van Dyke for approximately 1 minute until they boxed in her vehicle a short distance down the road at Concord and Outer Drive. At this point, the officer which fired shots, we'll call him the shooting officer, jumped out of his vehicle that was parked in front of the Dodge Durango and began ordering the woman to exit the vehicle. The driver, as it is shown in the video, began try to drive her vehicle out of the box. While the Durango was driving away from the scene and past the officer, he ordered the woman 2 more times to get out of the vehicle before he fired multiple shots into the Durango. The shooting officer then jumped back in his squad car and pursued the Durango with the backup units following behind. They pursued, ultimately ending at the Detroit Police Department facility. The driver was shot a total of 6 times. Officers rendered first aid. Medics were called. They transported the woman to a local hospital. The woman was released from the hospital and subsequently taken to the Detroit Detention Center. This morning, I ordered her released from the Detroit Detention Center immediately. I want to talk about the policy violations. This incident has policy violations in multiple areas. I find them concerning. The Detroit Police Department, first of all, should not pursue, and we have a policy against vehicle pursuits for traffic. Our policy states that we will pursue individuals that have committed violent felonies only, violent crimes. DPD also has a policy against a procedure where you box in a vehicle, one vehicle in front, one vehicle behind, in an attempt to stop it from moving. I repeat, DPD we do not shoot at moving vehicles unless it is an extreme circumstance where life is at jeopardy. As an officer, we are trained to de-escalate situations. Failing to request a supervisor when one is requested falls in line with a citizen complaint. She requested a supervisor multiple times. I want you all to know that I am preparing to submit to the Board of Police Commissioners to have the shooting officer suspended without pay immediately. And again, a warrant request will be submitted to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. This is standard. The actions of the officer in violating our policy is not consistent with what should be done. The officer will be held accountable for that. An internal investigation is going to be headed up by the Homicide Task Force, which is led by the Michigan State Police Department. The driver, as I stated, has been released from the Detroit Detention Center this afternoon and will not be facing any charges from this incident. The Detroit Police Department has policies in place for a reason. We are a constitutional police department, and I definitely will hold officers accountable for policy violations. At this point, I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Chief, for that update. It's Andrea from the Detroit Free Press. I know that you have concerns about policy violations, but I was wondering what you would say to critics who may agree with you and say, sorry, I'm getting the questions out, sorry. Like, how would you respond to critics who question whether all of this over an invalid license essentially was worth it, was worth all of this?
I'm not going to offer my opinion or speculate at this particular time. It's an ongoing investigation based off the warrant requests being submitted. I don't want to interfere or jeopardize anything in that regard. There could be criminal charges that would result from this, could be, but I'm telling you that there definitely were procedural violations, and I'm holding the officer accountable for that.
Can you tell us more about the officer?
Yes, the officer has 1 year and 9 months on the job. No other citizen complaints and no other pending cases of discipline.
Was he an officer beforehand, or was this his first job?
That I don't know. I don't believe so.
Okay. And then what was the initial traffic stop?
The traffic stop with the officer stated speeding, tinted windows, and obscured plate.
All right, thank you.
Randy Wembley, Channel 7. Andrew kind of knocked out a bunch of them that I wanted to bring up. But you mentioned that the traffic violation initially was speeding, tinted windows rather, and improper plate. Was that merely the tag or a missing license plate, or what exactly was it with the license plate in regards to?
I haven't. The investigation is ongoing. I know what the initial reason for the traffic stop is, but I haven't looked that close to the plate. But I was at this point very, very quickly able to determine that policy violations occurred, and I'm taking swift action in regards to that.
This brings up just the issue in regard to pretext stops and what have you. Should there be any sort of reviewing of the ordinances, DPD policy regarding certain pretext stops? We see that in certain other cities and what have you. Is this an opportunity to review that in Detroit?
I will say that one of the #1 complaints in the city of Detroit, and that I've directed officers to do, is individual speeding. And so speeding doesn't fall in the realm of a pretextual stop. We've had a lot of traffic accidents with death, critical injuries as a result of that. So the Detroit Police Department, we're going to continue to enforce traffic laws for speeding, improper plates, things that I would say wouldn't fall in the realm of a pretextual stop.
And you mentioned just the de-escalation. It seems as if this escalated rather quickly. Could you kind of speak to that a bit, and where perhaps, based upon what you saw in the video, where things could have been de-escalated, those opportunities for the off-ramp, if you will, before things led to the direction where it ultimately went?
It would be improper for me to go deep into detail at that level. With the pending possible criminal investigation or charges that could result from the Wayne County prosecutor. But I will tell you that we have some of the best policies in the country, if not the best. The Detroit Police Department does. And when individuals follow the policies as they're supposed to, you don't have incidents like this. A supervisor should have been called. She requested a supervisor, and the supervisor should have been called.
And lastly, and forgive me if I missed this, but was there any moment, or was there any scene on the video where an officer was sort of hanging on the car or what have you, or being, while she drove away, while the young lady drove away?
I can't speak to the video. If I could speak to the video, I would be able to really show the video. So that level of detail, my concern has been with what I spoke of in the policy violation.
Gotcha. Understood. Thank you.
So, Chief, let me see if I understand this. Woman was pulled over for speeding, a legitimate stop. She refuses to give a license, not supposed to do that, and she refuses to give her registration and refuses to cooperate and obey a police officer. What does the police officer do in that situation?
I'm glad that you raised that. As I reported out yesterday, I had not seen the video. I was going basically off preliminary information. And so I will tell you this, Charlie. She did give her license. She did give her registration. Her insurance was on her phone. That's all I have to say about that. If a supervisor had been called, I don't think it would have went this way.
Do you think the officer had committed a crime?
I can't and I won't comment on that. That's the job of the Wayne County prosecutor.
Thank you.
So you mentioned having preliminary information on that. I would like to follow up and ask whether, that's basically the complete opposite of what was said yesterday. How did that happen?
It was information I was given at the time, and the video had not been reviewed.
So was that given by the officer that committed the shooting?
I can't go into what he said, that piece. I can't go into that without compromising his due process.
Okay. And then will the video be in full released, or will it be edited?
After the Wayne County prosecutor does her job and is authorized for release, you'll get the video be available, so you should be able to forward it.
As you can see, Ty Bettison changed his whole outlook on everything, right? He changed his whole tune once he actually reviewed the video footage. But it goes to show you how these officers lie all the time. This is what they do. And it's sad that the police chief wouldn't even admit that his officer committed a crime here. But he's obviously that he violated this woman's civil rights. And he committed crimes. I mean, he falsified a police document. That's a crime in itself right there. He shot at the woman, which was a violation of their policy. He wasn't supposed to block the lady in, box her in with their car. They did that. And he wouldn't even provide the woman when she asked for a supervisor. He wouldn't provide her with a supervisor. So, I mean, it's crazy. So they wonder why people flee from police when they're clearly violating every policy there is. Like, how do you feel safe with that? So I don't blame her for going to safety and trying to find any type of safety that she could, because these police are nuts. We all know they're the KKK members, most of them. We know that. But let's see how far this case actually goes. Let's see if it gets anywhere. Because we don't know, I'm assuming it's a white police officer again, because they will not reveal this officer's name. Only thing we know about this officer is that they've been on the force for 1 year and 9 months. And that's it. So let's see if they fired this police chief for now doing the right thing. And let's see if this officer, which I'm assuming that they're white, let's see if anything happens to them. Let's see if they don't get promoted. We'll see. But that's my video for today, guys. If you like what you heard in this video, you like this type of content, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. It helps my channel grow. Y'all have a blessed day. Be safe and peace.